Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Friday. Let's get my phone up so that I can see everyone. Make sure it's all working. How are we all this Friday morning? As usual, if you are there, please do say hello. Oh, Jane's beat me to it. Good morning, Jane. As usual, if you're there, please do pop a hello in the comments. Good morning to Sue as well. And to Heather, good morning. End of July. Wow. Just this year has just sped past. Pete and Erica downstairs as usual. Good morning to, I'm not sure who that name is. Can't see it at the moment. Good morning. Good morning. Working from home. Excellent. We like working from home. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, Karen. My phone's taking longer to catch up. Let's just put it on there. Oh, so many technical devices going on here. Let's put roaming on and then it'll catch up. Good morning, Dawn. Cats are behaving this morning. That's always good. Good morning, Leslie. Sue says, please forgive me if I type something awful. New laptops are getting used to it. You type something awful if you want to, Sue. We don't mind. Makes it more fun. Heather, you're looking very beautiful. Thank you, Heather. I'm knackered. It's all glamour. Myself and the lovely Kitchen Witch posse went to Glastonbury for the day yesterday. It was a very early start and we did a lot of walking. I feel like I've been run over by a truck this morning. Good morning, Lani. Working from home, can take care of husband. Oh, recovering from surgery. Positive healing energy to him. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Max. That's my husband. Need me to pop up and help with the technical stuff? No, all right, thank you. I will be getting coffee later, obviously. Good morning, Willow Moon. It is a beautiful day. No. It's very grey out there. Very grey out there. Thankfully, it didn't. Yes, thank you, Sue. We had a lovely day in Glastonbury yesterday. Thankfully, the sun shined on us all day. Good morning, Sue. But it was stupidly busy in Glastonbury yesterday. Absolutely chocker with tourists. And I say tourists, and I don't mean that in a detrimental way. It was literally people coming to see Glastonbury that probably never been to see it before. Not particularly for spiritual reasons, just I think because lots of UK people are holidaying in the UK at the moment. So it was really busy. Good morning from Australia. Well, it's probably not morning for you. Good morning, Linda from rainy Doncaster. Yes, it's rainy down on the south coast today too. Good morning from Gemma. First time catching me live on annual leave today. Not the best weather, but at least you're not at work. There's always a bonus. Willow Moon, my last day of radiotherapy was yesterday. I'm ready to hit the world now. You go, girl. Raining and blowing in Somerset. Yeah, it's like that today, I think. Lani, hoping to get there sometime this year, fingers crossed. Yeah, Glastonbury is an interesting place. I will admit it's not my most favourite place. But yes, definitely an interesting place to visit. Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Iona. I've missed some of the names. So Petronella and Melody. Hello, hello, hello. The phone isn't syncing with the computer, isn't syncing with the phone. So I'm going to jump between the two. Cold and rainy in Western Australia too. It's nice to know that it's not just cold and rainy in England. Good morning, Maria. Jane is going to Glastonbury in September. Yes, hopefully not so crowded then. I think we hit it as well in the first week of the school holidays. So yeah, it was pretty busy. But I came home with a 9th century Viking axe and a drinking horn like you do. Not for me, for my son, who was incredibly pleased with it and got lots of warnings of do not play with the axe. It is not a toy. But very, very helpful people in the Weird Raven Viking shop. If you do go to Glastonbury, do have a look. They are fantastic people, so full of knowledge and so helpful. Love to go to Glastonbury for the shops. There isn't much like that in Portsmouth. No, there isn't much like that in Portsmouth at all. Couple of shops in Southsea that can help with bits and pieces, but no, not much like that in Portsmouth at all. But in Portsmouth, you can get takeaways delivered, which is, for me, that's a big bonus. And we have the ocean, obviously, in Portsmouth, which for me is a real biggie, real biggie. Good morning, Christine. Blooming windy here in North Dorset, had to hold me wig on. Yeah, that'll be me today. This bit's not real. Maria was going to go next weekend, but the coach would get there too late to check in. So, yeah, Glastonbury's really difficult to get to if you don't drive. It's not on a main bus route. It's not on a main train route. So it is really tricky if you don't drive. But Maria, it's really busy at the moment, really busy. Good morning, Rachel. True to both, yes. I love living on the edge of Portsmouth City. I love being able to drive 5 minutes to the ocean, 5 minutes to the woods, and I love that takeaways delivered. Got to get your priorities right. But we had a really good day. It was good to get out and spend time with the girls. We did a little bellissimo ritual in the corner of the Chalicewell Gardens. A couple of the girls put their feet in the cold water in the Chalicewell waters. We collected some Chalicewell water to bring home. Did a bit of shopping like you do. Had cake like you do. Coffee number one. I think that's what it's called. Something like that. Halfway up the high street on the right-hand side. Really, really nice chai latte and lovely cake. And if you're gluten-free or vegan, they do both types of cake too. Lani says, last time I went there, I had to get a train to Castle Carey. Yes, then a taxi to the B&B I stay. It is expensive transport getting to Glastonbury if you don't drive. Rachel said, it was busy in Glastonbury a few weeks ago. Bit of shock after things being so quiet. Yeah, it's other than being in Glastonbury for the Goddess Conference when it is heaving, I'd never seen Glastonbury so busy as it was yesterday. Coffee zero. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Brain's not really working yet. And throat is really suffering from inhaling so much incense. Coffee zero. Yes, very, very, very nice cake and coffee. Willow Min Moore is on my wish list to visit Glastonbury. Can't wait to visit the UK. It's a lovely winter evening here in Australia. Friday evening after work. Yay for the weekend. Time zones, just it's like Star Trek, isn't it? Hi, Carla. Carla was in Glastonbury on Tuesday. It was nice to go into the shops and get a few bits. Yes, I bought a Viking axe and a drinking horn. But things for me like candles and supplies, I tend to buy from Freya's Cauldron online because they are much cheaper. But always interesting to go and have a look. Sue says you should go to Glastonbury. Yes, in January or February when it's rain or sleet and see how quiet it is then. Yes, we do. I don't think we've been before in the school holidays, but it was just because, lockdown timing, needed to get out kind of thing. So yeah, good day. Kerry says the best way is train to Bristol and then a bus outside the station takes you to Glastonbury town centre. Thank you, Kerry. That's very useful for anyone that doesn't drive. Good morning, Beck. So good morning, everyone. There was the talk I did last week. That can't remember what I talked about. Rites of Passage. That's it. Oh dear. Lani loves Freya's Cauldron. I do. Freya's Cauldron for all of my supplies. That's where I get everything from, pretty much. Willow Moon. When I went to Glastonbury, I went to the charity shops. Yes, we went in the charity shops too. Rachel says, come in September. Oh, okay. Witches Market in Glastonbury. That's in the Guildhall Town Hall, isn't it? In the main hall thing there. Witches Market, so 25th of September. Yes, I talked about rites of passage last week, and I used the term menage, which is for the menstruation starting. And someone very kindly pointed out that I was pronouncing it wrong. And that's what's inspired this week's talk. Because I'd only ever read the word in all the years that I've been dealing with it and working with it, rituals and things. I'd only ever seen the word menage written down. It's actually pronounced Manachi, which actually sounds really horrible. So I will probably stick with menage because it sounds nicer, even if it's incorrect. But it made me think. It made me think about mistakes and mishaps and things that we do within the magical world, within our own pathways, where we make mistakes. So that's what I want to talk about today, magical mistakes and mishaps. Because we've all done them, we will all probably still continue to do them. And I will tell you some of the ones I've done and what I've learned from them, because I think making mistakes is all part of the journey as long as we learn from it. Sue says it does. Sounds like a Mexican band, Manachi, with maracas. It does, yes. Town hall, yes. So Maria, the town hall is right at the bottom of Glastonbury town, along the bottom run there, opposite the very nice Abbey tea rooms, just next to the car park, right at the bottom of the town. So yes, Witches Market, 25th of September in Glastonbury. So yes, so getting things wrong is good. It's okay. It's all right. We don't have to, Jane must have gone on a journey last night. She's finding bits of twig in her hair. Where on earth did you go? Yes, so mistakes. And it's absolutely fine to make mistakes. And yes, well, I still do it. We still do it. Well, pronunciation. I pronounced it wrong last week. I'm still going with menage but I'd never heard anybody say it. I'd only ever read it. And I think that happens a lot with words, doesn't it? When we've read things but never actually heard the word, you say it how you think that it's pronounced. Anyway, we all make mistakes in life. We all make mistakes when we're working magic. Perhaps particularly when we first start out, but believe me, even those more experienced still make mistakes. I think the key is to learn from them. Sometimes you don't learn the first time. Sometimes it takes more than one lesson before it's learnt. Yes, Willow Moon says mistakes are often how you discover new things. Absolutely, absolutely. So I think perhaps the biggest mistake I ever made was very, very early on in my magic. I decided to work a spell to banish all negativity from my life. In fact, I worked several spells on a sort of regular basis to banish all the negative energy from my life. And it made sense to me at the time. Don't want negative stuff in my life. Let's banish it all. And the spells worked. However, when you banish negative energy, it leaves a void. And nothing loves a void more than more negative energy. So not only had I forgotten to request to fill that void with positive energy, I had also banished everything that contained any negative energy. What has experience taught me? That we need a bit of balance. Our lives do need some negative energy in them. The spell worked incredibly well. Not only did all of the negative stuff that I didn't want disappear, but also things I hadn't even considered, such as friendships. To live completely in a fluffy love and light bubble with rainbows and unicorns sounds fabulous, but it isn't really very practical. We need that balance. We need that balance of light and dark. We need the positive and the negative to keep things in perspective. If you think about a battery, it only works because it's got both positive and negative energy. And I think we do as well. We need that. Obviously, we don't need bad luck. And that, I'm not talking about that kind of negative energy. But everyone's got that friend that's a bit more negative than the others. And everyone deals with stuff on a daily basis that has negative and positive stuff. It happens. It all happens. But it all perhaps, does it all happen for a reason? Not so sure. Sometimes it's really difficult to actually think about things in that way, but we need that little bit of negative energy in our lives. So if you banish all of that negative energy, it can work in ways that you hadn't perhaps anticipated. And I did lose friendships because I'd banished all the negative energy. So for me, that was a really big lesson, and it actually took me a little while before I realized what I was doing and what was happening. So I tend to now, I still work banishing spells, but I tend to be very careful about how I word them. I usually ask for that which no longer serves me to be released. And I'm always careful to fill that negative void, that empty void rather, with positive energy too. I think it is about thinking things through properly and being very, very careful about how you word it. In my head, it sounded brilliant. On paper, it looked brilliant. But actually, putting it together and working with it, it was only afterwards that I realised it made a bit of a mistake here. I do think spells need a bit of thought. They do need a bit of preparation. They do need a bit of thinking. You have to be very careful about how you word them. Having said that, some of the best spells that I've actually worked have been on the spur of the moment. So you need to get the balance right and just be very careful about how you word things. Sue says, if you make mistakes at a ritual, it helps if you don't get the evil eye thrown at you. Yeah, that helps. Good morning, Susanna. Jane says, yin and yang, karma, give and take. It's all about, I think it is all about balance, all about balance. John is back to rainy Lancashire. Yes, the garden did need it, John. Yeah. Only thing is that it's had a bit too much rain now, and dahlias and hollyhocks and sunflowers have all suffered from it. Let's put these up so that you can see them. Christine, I felt once that I needed a new teacher for some reason, so I joined a coven as it was a teaching one. Bad mistake, but it sure was a mistake. Learning curve, learn. Yes. I think we have to trust our intuition on a lot of things too. And perhaps we have to make these mistakes so that you do realize that there was a lesson to it. Good morning, Jackie. Yes, as long as we learn from it, I think. And as I say, sometimes it's more than once. I'd worked this banishing spell several times before I realized that I was clearing out absolutely everything. And if I continued, I'd probably end up being Billy No Mates, wondering where everyone had gone. So it is about thinking about things, thinking things through as well. So do be mindful of your spells. Leslie here has, my first spell was a love spell. It worked. I got exactly what I asked for, but forgot to add the basic emotions I was looking forward to. Worst years of my life, lesson learned, be more specific. I think particularly with love spells. I think with love spells you have to, would I work a love spell? No. It's just not worth the grief. It really isn't. I think particularly with love and love spells, you ask for what you think you want, but actually what you need might be something completely different. We have this idea in our head of the ideal soulmate, but actually in reality, they might not have the qualities that we actually need for a good relationship. So love spells, I think, I actually think love spells are the place where you should not be specific. If you want to draw love to you, ask for the right love to come to you or the perfect love to come to you. Don't put all kinds of disclaimers on it. He must be this, she must be that, they must be this, they must be that. The universe knows much better than we do, basically. So yes, love spells are a big example of playing with fire, basically. Good morning, Candy Soul and Soil, fab name. Jane said, did a few Jane, your profile picture is knitted socks. I've just seen that. I love that. Did a few spells years ago to banish people's bad behavior, not the actual people. One has to be specific. Yes, absolutely. And that's where I wasn't specific at all. I just banished the negative energy, and of course it took the people with them. So yes. Oh yes, another very, very wise. Be careful what you wish for, you might get it. Absolutely. What we want isn't always what we need. Trust that the universe knows much better than we do. It's been doing it for much longer than we have. So yes, be very, very careful with spell work. I don't want to put people off from doing spells. I know I was super nervous when I did my first spells, but just think about it. Think about the consequences that come with it as well. Whenever you work a spell, whatever it's for, you are working with energy that changes things. So just be, think it through, really. More practical kind of mishaps and mistakes. And please, if you've had any horrible things go wrong that you're happy to share, to pop them in the comments so that we can all learn from each other's mistakes. The other thing is, we're more practical things now. I'm going to jump about a bit here. Candles. Candles dressed in oil and rolled in dried herbs are brilliant to work with. And I suggest it myself in my books, and I've suggested it on here as well. They're brilliant. You add layers of energy, you add layers of magic by dressing a candle with essential oil and then rolling it in the dried herbs. Brilliant, brilliant. Downside of it is that essential oil is volatile and herbs love a flame. I speak from experience here when I say be very, very careful with fully dressed candles. They can flame and flare up without warning. It can be quite spectacular. If that flame catches the oil, catches the herbs, inferno, particularly if it's a pillar candle. You can buy some beautiful pillar candles that are dressed and soaked in oil, and they're full of all these herbs and bits of wood and all sorts of stuff. Be very, very careful when you're burning them, because if the flame catches hold of the oil or the herbs, it really can go fire extinguisher on standby, basically. Practical things, but I've done it. I've been there, seen it, done it, worn the t-shirt. Be mindful as well of your candle holders. I had a lovely ceramic kind of round chip and dip dish, little hole in the center and then a little space around the outside. It worked really well. You put a candle in the center. It wasn't meant for candles, obviously. It was meant for tortilla chips and dips. Candle in the center, and then you could put herbs and crystals around the edge. However, it wasn't designed for heat. And it shattered most spectacularly, sending out hot wax, flames, crystals shot across the place, herbs went up in the air on my altar. Thankfully, I was there. Don't leave burning candles unattended. But it made me jump. There was this huge noise. The whole thing shattered. But of course, it set fire to the altar cloth. It burned the wood on the unit underneath. It was just superbly spectacular, but not good. But thankfully, I was there and I could very quickly put it out. But it burnt the wooden unit that was underneath it. So that is a mindful lesson about being careful what holders you put your candles in, because not all of them can take the heat. And in actual fact, talking about flames and setting fire to things, many years ago, a group of us went to the Goddess Temple in Glastonbury. We were all sitting there very quietly. For anyone that's not been, down the end of it's a big room, and you all sit, there's cushions and things. You can sit and meditate. There's incense going. There's a big altar at one end. Beautiful pictures on the wall, and there are candles burning. There's flowers. There's all kinds of beautiful things all laid out on this huge altar taking up one end of the room. And in one corner, there's a window open, and it has a small altar on it. So we are sitting by that one, very quietly, all meditating. And all of a sudden, a gust of wind comes through the window. It blows over the candle. The curtain swings. It knocks over a vase of flowers. The candle sets fire to all of the beautiful material that's hanging down, and whoof, goes up in flames. We leapt up. Thankfully, there was still water in the vase that had blown over, so we're chucking the water from the vase and put the flames out on the so be very careful with open windows, curtains, and candles. So basically, be really careful with candle flames. John says, wouldn't it be better to do a luck spell than love? Total luck bumping into Tracy's soulmate for 21 years. Chalk and cheese, but it works. Very good point, John. I think love spells do have to be very, very carefully looked at. That would be perfect to do a luck spell, absolutely. Willow Moon says, group of us were doing a money spell. I just asked for abundance to grant me what I needed. Won some money and got a flat tire. Yeah. Found some money blowing along the street, then discovered it was mine. Lesson from the gods. Don't waste their time on silly requests. That's an interesting point, Willow Moon. I used to work, or I still do, I work abundance spells on a regular basis, but I only ever used to ask for what I needed. I felt it was greedy to ask for more than that. So I would ask for the money that I needed. But as you pointed out, what's the point? Because, the balance works out. I think we have to value ourselves more. And if you are going to work an abundance spell, ask for what you need and more. Ask for money for bills, to cover bills. Ask for money to cover things that you need to pay for. But if you ask for a little bit more, hopefully the universe will deem you worthy of it. So yes, be very, very careful with that again, because if you ask for exactly what you need, then it's all going to balance out. Jane says, always have a little fire extinguisher handy if you're a crazy witch. If you're working with candle flames, oils, herbs, altar cloths, open windows, just be mindful. Just be mindful. Sue says, don't tell me to fall down the step I did. Yeah, our brains work in weird ways, don't they? So be mindful of candle holders, be mindful of flames. If you are working with candles, be also mindful of wooden candle holders. I have some beautiful wooden candle holders. Don't leave them unattended because they set fire. I didn't actually leave it unattended. I was in the room, but I wasn't paying attention. And the candle burnt right down to the wood and started burning the wood. So be careful of wooden candle holders because they burn. See, and we learn from all of these things, hopefully. Be mindful of your words, but be mindful of candles. And other things that burn are incense blends. I like to make loose incense blends. And I like to mess about, and I like to use ingredients that tie in with my intent. Do not put dried chilies in an incense blend. I was working with one particular incense blend and I wanted to add dried chilies to it to boost the energy. I add dried chilies to quite a lot of spell workings because it boosts the energy of the spell. It also helps things move along quicker. I added a whole dried chili to the top of my incense blend and looked over to watch it burn. The smoke from dried chilies has chili oil in it. It makes you cry. It makes your eyes stream. And it makes your throat dry. Drier than it is when you've spent all day inhaling Glastonbury incense. So never add dried chilies to incense blends. I learned that lesson. Maria says, I did, way before joining Kitchen Witch, a misfortune spell I'd found online for a couple of lovely people, not knowing what I was doing, of course, and later that day, the oven stopped working and the skybox at the same time. Yeah. I think you have to be responsible. like you say, we do it all before we know better. I think particularly with spells, I never advise people to work with spells until they've got the basic training done, so that you are aware of how and why things happen. And I think it is about taking responsibility. You're working with spells, so you're manipulating energy. And whatever type of spell you work, there's a payment for it. There's a comeback to it. It is, a balance. Checks and balances, definitely. Jane says, now I've got a nice charcoal. I have. Very nice charcoal candle holder. It still works. Sue says, or black pepper. Yes, I do add black pepper to my incense blend sometimes, but not very much, because yes, chilies and black pepper do make your eyes water. Definitely. Jill says, oh yes, years ago I put a candle on a plastic base. Yeah, melted plastic. Oh no, all over the arm of the sofa. No, that's not good. I'm laughing, but it's not good. Yeah. Willow Moon says, do you ever put your trust into a deity when asking for a solution? A friend does this. She states what the problem is and asks the deities for your will to me. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes with deity and sometimes just with the universe, particularly if something bad has happened, something horrible has happened. I do work with curses and hexes. I think you need to work with them to understand how they work from a view of protecting yourself against them or uncrossing them if you need to. But I very rarely curse or hex anyone. I tend to ask deity or the universe to deal with the situation, because I find, particularly with the universe, particularly with deity, they are far higher beings than me. They know far more about what should work, what does work, and what I really need. So yes, absolutely. I do quite often hand the problem over to someone who has far more power than me and knows much better than me how to deal with it. So far, I haven't been let down. So yes, definitely. Christine says, a lesson I learned when we bought a new settee. At Yule, we had candle on coffee table, wrapping paper. Oh, dropped on candle and burnt the new settee. Oh no. Yes, candles are the ones that come with most warnings, I think, because all it takes is a just slight breeze of wind or dropping something on them. Yeah, not good. Back to pronunciations, where this all started from. I think pronunciations are particularly tricky. Let's face it, some of the gods have such complicated names. Even the shorter ones are often pronounced completely different to the way that they are spelt. I've made mistakes in the past, again, because sometimes I've only read the name in a book and never heard it said out loud. I think particularly in this day and age when we have online resources, it's worth checking. It's worth checking how to pronounce the names. And in actual fact, a lot of the names, like the Kalak, have several different ways of pronouncing it, depending on what part of the country you come from or what part of the country her name is being in reference to. There's sort of 7 or 8 different ways to pronounce the Kalak. So do a bit of checking. It is worth doing a bit of checking, because some of those deity names are really complicated and some of them are pronounced completely differently to the jumble of letters that they are. Not necessarily a mistake as such, just a little bit about preparation and looking it up beforehand so that you don't offend the god, really, I guess, or look silly. But, bear in mind that everyone does still make mistakes. So don't judge anyone if they have made a mistake or say something wrong or do something wrong, because it's all a part of learning, Maria says, I usually do any candle work in the kitchen on top of the cooker. Wise. On top of the cooker lid is a small space and it's near the sink. Yeah, doubly wise. I've set my thumb on fire in a room before and had to run to the bathroom. No. Yeah, candle flames. See? Definitely wise, Maria. Karen, Persephone. I pronounce Persephone. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. I actually prefer that, Karen. Persephone. I like that. Definitely. Jane says, my friend Brendan speaks Gaelic, so I'll ask him for his take on the Cailleach. The Cailleach has different depending on where you're coming from. I pronounce it Cailleach because I'm English, but Cailleach, Cailleach, it's got that on it. But I've also heard it pronounced Cailleachi. So I think with something like that, there's no right or wrong as such. It just depends on your take on it and what your accent is. But I do like Persephone, Karen. I'm going to stick with that one. I think the fun thing as well is if you are in ritual, and I have been honoured to take part in many group rituals over the years. Some have been very ceremonial and serious. You can imagine how hard that is for me to be part of very sensible, straight-laced rituals. But interesting to be a part of. Others have been more relaxed. And of course, the kitchen rituals are totally organized chaos. But it doesn't matter what format the rituals are taken. Not all of them have gone off without a hitch. Humans are involved. Weather is involved. The animal kingdom is involved. And each of these bring their own unique mishaps. We've had circles cast in the wrong direction. We've had the circle swept in the wrong direction. And I say the wrong direction, but that's actually an interesting point in its own. Sweeping the circle, you're ridding it of negative energy, so I would go anti-clockwise. Casting the circle, you're bringing protective energy in, so we would cast it clockwise. But actually, who's to say that making the mistake and going the other way isn't the right thing to do at the time, which is what I decided was what happened. It's happened on a few occasions, and I think it's happened for a reason. Obviously, the circle was meant to be cleansed or cast in that direction on that particular occasion. So I think that's one of those things where it isn't necessarily a mistake. It's just one of those things that perhaps is supposed to happen. Jane says, in Ireland, there are often umpteen letters for each syllable, but most of them are silent. Yes. Yes. Quite a few languages like that, isn't there? Willow Moon says, accidents with the elements really brings home how powerful they actually are. Yes, absolutely. Air, the open window, is a danger when combined with fire and water. Interesting thought if we struggle with elements in small doses. It is, isn't it? I think it's often you have to think about it and why that happened, or, oh, I wonder what caused that. Yes, absolutely. Maria's putting her hand up to being guilty. We're all guilty of making mistakes in ritual, Maria, all guilty. John says, Gaelic claims, even now we had Sean at school, spelt it Sean. Yes, different. There's different ways of spelling names as well, isn't there? Yes, and then there's Ain, A-I-N-E, and it is pronounced Anya or Anya. Yes, there are lots of different, there's lots and lots of different ones like that. But I think in ritual, I always take it that if you've gone the wrong way round, perhaps it wasn't the wrong way round. Perhaps it was meant to be that way round, if that makes sense. But it's happened, and it's happened in lots of the rituals that I've been part of. Maybe it's me that causes it. No, I'm sure it happens in lots of rituals. We've had candles. Candles in outside ritual are always fun and games, and incense. Lighting candles, trying to light candles when you're outside, having candles blow out as soon as you've lit them, or just not lighting completely at all. And the same goes with incense. We have had cloaks huddled round in tents. I think there's a photo on one of the kitchen rituals where we've all got our cloaks like that, trying to light candles and incense. So on a windy day, not going to happen. We've had altar cloths blown away. We've had stumbling over the script words or saying completely the wrong thing or in the wrong order. And I'm back to pronunciation. deity names. I'm pretty sure that when we do the Kitchen Witch rituals, that the Kitchen Witch posse pick the most difficult names for me to say, just on purpose. But there is, if you've got a script, even if you've got a script, if you haven't got a script, you can stumble over the words. You can say things in the wrong order. If there's lots of people involved, their quarters can be called in the wrong order, or, you know. But again, we're humans. It's absolutely fine. The gods are not going to worry if you've stumbled over a few words. They're not going to worry if you've called something in the wrong order, because who's to say it's in the wrong order anyway? There are set ways that are structures for rituals, but there's nothing to say that you have to do it in that particular order. Jane says, yes, candles in jars on windy days, definitely storm lanterns. Yes, this is Andrea has been to our Kitchen Witch rituals, passing dogs running up to water and eating the offerings. That is my other point, is animals. Our Kitchen Witch rituals, I don't think we've had one where there hasn't been a dog, random dog walker walking past, and the dog comes in to eat the cakes. Every single time without fail, I think. And the poor dog owner thinking, oh, come back, dog. Oh, what are all these weird people doing? My dog's gone in there. Oh no, they're going to sacrifice my dog. Oh no, dog, come back. Yeah, it's all very chaotic and twirly. Yes, I think absolutely every single time without fail, a Kitchen Witch ritual has had a dog wander in to eat the cake, followed by a very worried and distraught dog walking owner. I also did hand fasting in the middle of the woods once, and there were wild horses. And we just set up the circle, big circle, because it was a big hand fasting. And a horse walked across the centre of the circle and stopped and proceeded to pee very, very loudly on the edge of the circle. Never, ever work with animals and children. Never work with animals and children. Maria says, I ended up cracking up over a couple of words in the last ritual we had. Yes, the Kitchen Witch rituals always involve laughter. Hi, Eve. Yes, candles in lanterns. Definitely something that we learnt. If you are going to work with candles outside, put them in a storm lantern or a jar. Yes, Willow Moon says, I think mankind has stumbled with words and ritual since the beginning of time. Absolutely, absolutely. Jane, yes, lanterns are great for outside. Can't have too many lanterns. Yeah, charity shops are brilliant for looking for storm lanterns and candle holders and things. Absolutely. Sue says there should be laughter. Yes. Karen says, a dog ate our offering cakes at summer solstice at Alderley Edge. Thankfully, it left the alcohol alone. Have a drunk dog wandering through your ritual. So I think human beings are involved, and we do stumble over things, and animals get involved, and then the weather. We have had the wind play havoc with everything at rituals. We've had rain, downpours of rain suddenly from nowhere, and we've had to run to move everything, and there's not an awful lot of shelter where we do our Kitchen Witch rituals, so we have got very wet on occasion. I think it was my initiation at Stonehenge. We were in the middle of Stonehenge, and it was all going very well until the hailstorm started. Perhaps that was a message to me. Oh, hailstones, lovely. And you're in the middle of Stonehenge. There's not a lot you can do about it. So that was cold and uncomfortable. So I think it is about mistakes are made, mishaps are made. Some of them are out of our control, such as the weather. Some of them are practical and we can learn from them, such as, Jane says, hail and farewell, hailstorm. Very good. I'll put that one up. Yes, hail and farewell. I like that. Sue was initiated at Stonehenge. You'll rain, snow and wind. Yeah. It's dramatic, isn't it? That it makes it very special occasion. So I think it is about the practical side of it is learning practical stuff, that you don't leave candles burning in wooden holders, that you are mindful that when you add something to it, oil, herbs, it's all flammable. So there are practical things that I think we learn from, and you learn that as you go along, and perhaps you forget and learn it again when it happens again. But I think that the important part, particularly with things like spells, is to take note. I think it's particularly if you're learning, write down your spells and exactly what you did and exactly what you used, because you can learn from that next time, record it all, and then you can see how well it worked or it didn't work, what you did that maybe twisted the energy of it or turned the energy on its head. Hopefully, if it does go pear-shaped, you can then look back at what you've done and learn from it and change things for the next time. It's also wise, actually, if you are working a particularly powerful spell or a one that's perhaps a bit delicate, if you write down what you did exactly and what you used, you can also then go back and reverse it, because reversing a spell works much, much easier if you have an exact log of what you used and what you did. Chantel says, I am learning to just go with it. Like you said, there's always a reason. Yes, I think in most things there is always a reason. If you did, go the wrong way round, say the wrong word, have a think about why you went the wrong way round, or let's lose the word wrong, actually. Let's say why you went the other way round, or why you said something that was different to what you intended to say. Do a bit of analysis on it, because there may be a reason why it happened, and hopefully you can identify it and make sense of it. Karen says, I stood too close to the burning incense one night in the woods, and the ritual was disturbed by everyone laughing as I was disappearing into a cloud of smoke as my cloak was on fire. Oh, cloaks, candles, fire, flame, not a good combination. I know we all love a cloak and they look fantastic. And in fact, all the rituals I've been to at Stonehenge, you need to wear a cloak because their English heritage requires you to dress up if you're going into the center of the circle. They are fantastic, but how impractical are they? Cloaks, winds, candles, fire, flame, not a good combination at all. I must admit, I don't wear one very often when I'm actually leading a ritual, because it's so impractical and dangerous. Yes, definitely. So I think it is about just thinking about the practicality of things as well, particularly if you are doing a ritual outside, carrying things. Don't take glass with you when you are out in an open ritual and you have to trek for a little bit to get to your site, because it will break. It will break on the way. There speaks experience. Christine loves, yes, the battery flickery candles are really good for outside rituals. They give the right ambience and feel without having to bother trying to light them or catch fire to anything. Yes, Sue says, long hair and candles, not too good either, no. And melted hair smells disgusting. Karen doesn't wear a cloak now. I don't wear a cloak very often. If I'm going to something ceremonial and I'm not leading it, then I might wear my cloak. But if I'm actually doing the work in the ritual, no, I don't. Jane has, my cloak's got some really itchy, scratchy leaf braid around the edge. Have to wear a cowl under it to stop it making another practicality. Cloaks look fantastic, but the actual reality of it is that they're not actually very comfortable quite a lot of the time. So I think it is about being practical, but I also think it is about being mindful. Everything's about being mindful, isn't it? About thinking, particularly with spells, thinking through and being mindful of what you say, what you do. But I think it's also okay. It is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get things wrong, because we learn from all of those. And it just reiterates the fact that we're human and that we can get things wrong. John read, in one book I read, it stated working naked was good for fire safety, but don't buy it. Yes. I think the idea of working naked is an interesting one. And it's very Wiccan, I think. And there were groups that used to do it. You can see there's a few old photos floating around from the 60s and 70s particularly. I don't know of any groups personally now that do it. There probably are. I think if you are working at home on your own and you want to experience doing a ritual naked, then go for it. Personally, I think the idea of being naked in a group full of other people is horrendous. I think, yeah, being skyclad in the snow, Maria said, would be pretty brave. Absolutely. I think being skyclad is what they call it. The idea is that if you have no clothes, if you have nothing on, there's nothing there to stop the flow of energy. It brings you completely in tune and in touch with nature and the divine. Christine says, I was taught that naked meant coming into ritual without outer world thoughts. Yes, the idea is so that you have nothing with you. There are no material goods. There are nothing to connect you to the material everyday world. And there's nothing that will inhibit the flow of energy. I think it's all a load of cobblers. The idea is sound, but I think a group of people standing naked will all feel so self-conscious of their own bodies. I think it would make people feel very uncomfortable. And I think, it's not necessary. It really isn't necessary. I've worked rituals outside in the snow where there's no way I would be naked. I've had boots, socks, leggings, trousers, jumpers, 17 layers and a cloak and still been cold. So I think the idea, particularly in England where weather's fairly iffy, if you're going to do it, it needs to be warm because it's not practical otherwise. But I think the whole idea I think everybody would feel uncomfortable and self-conscious. But if it's for you, then absolutely go for it. If you are asked to do it by your coven and you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. If you are asked to do it by a group, your coven, whatever, and they insist that you do it and you feel uncomfortable, walk away. You have to be, particularly with something like that, you have to be confident and comfortable to put yourself in that situation with a group of people. I think that for me, the best idea is to just not do it with a group of people. But, each to their own, absolutely each to their own. I personally don't think that clothes stop or inhibit the flow of magic. I think that's a load of old rubbish. I've also heard or read things that say anything but silver jewelry will inhibit the flow of energy. I have not found that to be true at all. I have worked magic with costume jewelry on. I've worked magic with 17 layers of clothes on. I've worked magic in just a simple shift dress. It had no effect whatsoever. I do think that if you are going to a ritual, it's nice to dress appropriately. Not everyone has or can afford a cloak or magical clothes, but I think it's nice to dress for the occasion. The idea, I think, as well, of a cloak or having something that you wear specifically for rituals or for working magic is quite a nice idea because it's a key. It switches you into working magic mode, but it is also not necessary. Each to their own. You have to feel absolutely comfortable wearing what you do. So, yes, as Jane says, asking people to work naked just makes a lot of people so uncomfortable, it put them off altogether. It has to be right for you and you have to feel comfortable. Yes, indeed, Maria says, clothes and jewelry would have its own energy, so adding to the magic. Absolutely. Yes, jewelry in particular. Specifically if you have something with a precious stone in it, like my lovely pixie maid. silver boar. It's got my boar energy, my spirit animal guide, and it's got Larimar, which carries its own magical energy as well. So yes, jewelry in particular has its own energies. Christine says, in winter, I feel it should always be indoors as your thoughts are tied to the fact that you're feeling so uncomfortable and cannot focus intent. Being at Knowlton on a dark, blowy Halloween night can be positively chilling. Yes, I've only been to Knowlton when it's been warm, I think, but I was at one of the first rituals I did, actually, and it was in bulk, I think, and there was still snow on the ground, and we were standing in this stone circle, and it was freezing, absolutely freezing, very difficult to actually focus. Yes, Willow Moon says it isn't limited to medieval costume. Yeah, you don't have to dress like a wench or a knight or something. I know knight's something, yeah. To go to a ritual. Wear what you're comfortable, wear what you feel right. Quite often with the kitchen witch rituals, because I don't often wear a cloak because it's not practical for me, I just wear a nice dress, something that makes me feel special, but something that I also think says to deity or divine or the universe, I've dressed nicely, I've dressed specifically because I'm going to a ritual. But if you want to wear your jeans, absolutely go for it. It has to work for you. It has to work for you. I did a talk on magical jewelry a while back, I think, so do have a look if you're interested in the energy, and because jewelry all has its own specific things, whether you wear it in your ears or where you wear it as a pendant or rings, bracelets. Got my other Pixie Made bracelet on here too. Loads of wild boar energy going on. We do get attached to pieces of jewelry as well, I think. But yeah, it's up to you. It has to work for you, I think. Jane says, Nomad and Gringo gear. Yes, that's nice stuff. Bang good and new chic is good. New chic is lovely and loose and comfortable. Has to work for you. If you prefer to wear jeans and I'm a heathen t-shirt, or what I saw that t-shirt yesterday, that's why it's in my head. Where, you know, make it work for you. Basically, you have to feel comfortable. If you're going to be connecting with the divine, connecting with nature, channeling energy, you have to feel comfortable. If you're freezing cold or if you're feeling incredibly uncomfortable because you're standing naked in a group of people you don't really know, then you aren't going to be able to work with that energy flow, in my opinion anyway. So yeah, I think witchy wear, I think I blogged about witchy wear. What does a witch wear? Whatever she or he damn well likes is the answer. I think we have this idea in our head, don't we? Yes, I'm a witch, so I've got to wear black. Very rarely wear black. I'm a witch, so I've got to wear goth clothes. I do have goth clothes, but, you know, I'm a bit of a pick and mix me. You know, it's got to work for you, and it's got to work for your personality and how you feel comfortable. Absolutely feel comfortable. Sue says, hubby wore his I'm a heathen hoodie all around Buckfast Abbey. Yeah, it's a good slogan. So I think the basis of this is we all make mistakes. There are mishaps in magic all the time. Do what you can to not have mishaps, because, you know, fire flame burns things. But mistakes we make all the time. So just be mindful of them and look back at them and see what you can learn from it, or how you can change it, what you did, and how you can change it for next time, really. John says, thank you for this morning. Video of my garden. Yes, I did one. No disrespect. Yes, I do have an empty greenhouse. John says, mine has tomatoes, peppers, chilies, cucumber, melon. A tomato every good witch should have. I don't grow fruit and vegetables because I have a local supplier who delivers me a vegetable box every week. So I like to support him with his company, and he grows, it's organic fruit and veg from all over over England, and it's delivered every week for me. So I don't have I love my garden. I love gardening, and the greenhouse gets used for growing seeds for all of the plants that I collect, flowers, plants that I collect, all of the seeds, flowers, leaves for magical working. So it is utilised in the spring. It's also used in the winter to overwinter all of the more tender plants, dahlias in particular. So the greenhouse is used a lot in overwintering in the spring. I don't grow fruit and vegetables. I get those from my lovely fruit and veg guy who delivers to me. He has a lot more time to do it than I do. And I think that's balance again. That's lessons learned. That's a lesson learned in that I have so much on that some things have to be balanced out. I would love to be able to do it all. And I have had an allotment in the past. I have an allotment and grown my own stuff, but that takes an awful lot of time, and it's time that I don't have. So I have to balance it out. If I was growing fruit and veg in my greenhouse, I wouldn't have time to talk to you lovely people on a Friday morning. So balance. Monsoon June is here and I'm cozy. What's the subject today? It was magical mishaps and mayhem. You will have to watch it on the replay because we're winding up. Yes, I'm helping small businesses. Key for me is seasonal eating. I don't have the time or the space to grow enough to feed my family here, so I support a local business that does it. So yes, supporting local businesses and using local people is very important to me. So thank you all, everyone, for joining me today. Remember, mistakes happen. Just be mindful of them and see what it is that you can learn from them. And bear in mind that even nearly 30 years down the line, I still make mistakes. We all do it. Maxine's in a field in Wales. Now that is that is technology. Fantastic. Yes, Christine's going to dance naked at home. Wise words. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will catch up with you all later.